Hi, my name is Todd Bailey. I work for Pomerol Partners, a data analytics and data reporting software company. I'm a principal consultant, and today we're going to have an example of how to use QDI Compose, Qlik Data Integration Compose. This is the first in a series of videos I'm going to do about a Compose, so let's get started. First off, I'm going to go here to a server that we have Compose installed upon. This is actually Replicate, so I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to open a new browser window, and we will just pull up Compose here. And the project that we're going to use is going to be the Never Down Generators project, which, if you had seen the Replicate video, that's the same one we were using there. If you want to create a new project, you could do that right here. But we're going to just use the existing Never Down generators. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And today we're going to deal with this first silo on the left, the databases silo. As you can see, there's four different ones. There's the databases. This is where you basically define where you're going to bring data into Compose from. There's a little bit of modeling, substitution that can be done here, but it's mostly moving data straight from a Replicate staging area to a Compose staging area. Modeling is where you actually build your data warehouse entities, the relationships between those entities, for example, the joins, and then any attributes that they may have also, which would be, basically columns upon a table. What makes up that entity? Data warehouse is where you take your modeling and you create a warehouse. Usually, a warehouse will be at a high level. For example, it would be a warehouse at a corporate level of a company, and then outside of, as part of that, you create multiple data marts, which would be things such as a finance reporting set of tables, say maybe a sales or operational set of tables. So first thing we're going to deal with today, like we said, is the databases area. I'm just going to open these. These have been defined, but we'll look at them. If you wanted to create a new one, you would do it here, and you would create a name, database, and all of those different entities. But since we've already got one, we're just going to go and I'm just going to talk through what I did here. So the name of this data source is Salesforce, and this is basically the Replicate landing zone area of data that I created in the Replicate example. So I took the data from Salesforce, put it in a database called Never Down Generators, put it in a schema called Replicate Landing Zone. That's everything you see right there. And then I'm also creating an area to put errors, another schema, which is this errors schema. So I'm going to pop over to Snowflake quickly. Let's take a look at this, all the different schemas that we have. So as we were discussing, these are the schemas that have been created for processing of the data. This is the Replicate schema, which I created for landing of the data straight from Salesforce. I created Compose landing zone, Data Mart landing zone, errors, archive. These are schemas that are going to serve us as we build our model. The first one we're going to talk about here is the Compose landing zone and the errors landing zone, because these two get created in your data source as you're starting into Compose. So if we pop back over to Compose, you'll see when I defined this data source, pointing it to this particular database, I then say I want the schema name where you're pulling it from. This is the name of it, Replicate Landing Zone. And here's your errors, where if anything happens, we're going to put that into here. And also forgot to talk about this one, which is another schema I created, the archive schema, which is right here. So you would create these first. You would give access to public or to the ID that you're going to use in the QDI tools to access them. And then you would actually process that data. So let me pop over quickly back. Let's see here too. Back to our Snowflake example. And then let's go back from here to our land. So here we are. We're back in the actual instance of Compose. I'm going to close this now. The next thing we do is we define where we're going to put this data, which will be the output, which would be another database schema. So we're going to move this into, after we've loaded it, into a compose landing area, to a replicate landing area, We're going to then take that data and push it directly into the compose landing zone. It's basically going to be a copy of replicate. There are some options to make some minor changes in strings and some functions, but I have not made use of those in this example. It would just be coming straight over. And in this example, I'll also define where we're going to have the data mart landing zone, which is going to be the next step in the next video that we talk about. But just to ensure that we're okay, I'm going to test this connection. Okay, that one is working. I'm also going to go back and test the one that we had looked at before. It is also fine. And again, what you saw a minute ago was that this is an area where we're going to actually load data for the data warehouse into here. So we've defined that schema here, the data mart landing zone, but we're not going to use it until we actually start moving into the next two steps, which will be in future videos. So again, what we've discussed here is taking data from a replicate, moving that data into a compose structure, defining that data as here's your input from the replicate landing area. Here's where you're going to output the data to here, into these areas, and then that data will be ready for processing once you have run the entire job stream, which we will do in a future example. So again, thank you for tuning into this video. I have my contact information here and at the beginning of the video, and I do thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or any comments or anything you'd like to add, please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much.